Welcome to the New York Times. On today's episode, we will be talking about how Greta Thunberg accidentally went on birthright. Her flotilla vacation ended this week as she was detained by Israel and then shipped back to Sweden or something like that. Protesters in Los Angeles are trying to smush together Gaza and the immigration issue. Why? Because they're terrible at strategy. Also, we will be talking about Zoharn versus Cuomo. Alleged anti-Semite versus alleged sexual assaulter. He may hate Jews. He may hate women. It's a battle for the mayoral race that you've all been waiting for. And of course, Benjamin Netanyahu's son has requested that the area over his wedding venue become a no-fly zone. All of those stories and more on today's episode. This is the New York Times, baby. I am Eitan Levine, Barbara Walters with a bris. That's what I've been calling it. As always, I am joined by my producer, legendary newsman, Omri Hanania, off camera. How are you doing, Omri?
Better every time I hear you make that hard sound when you say my name.
Listen, you gotta schmaltz it up a little bit when you're saying Hanania. You want me to say Hanania like I'm a bank teller? You think anyone has ever said Eitan correctly first try at all? No.
Do they not just usually go with Ethan?
No, they usually look me in the eye and they go, oh, look who it is. Genocidal Mick-Zionist is in. And I'm like, are you really giving me an Irish name? They tend to hate Israel. How's your week going? What are you up to?
Pretty good. I'm going to Israel next week.
Hey, give it up. And I am going to Israel also in July. That's actually where I kind of wanted to start this. I will be going to the Maccabi games this summer, July 8th to July 20th. I will be in Israel. They're putting me up, by the way. Check this. The Ramada, Jerusalem, which is a hotel that my mom, when I told her, my mom said, and this is a quote, "That's so nice we didn't stay there." That was her actual quote of this. By the way, did I ever tell you that I was on Kelly Clarkson a couple of months ago, and afterwards, my moms live on a completely different plane of existence. This is what happened when I did Kelly Clarkson. I get out there, Kelly Clarkson hugs me, and then she goes, "Eitan, it is so nice to have you. Am I saying your name right? Is it Eitan?" And I went, "No, it's Eitan." And she goes, "Oh my God, Eitan, that's such a beautiful name. What does that mean?" And I swear to God, I blanked because I was most nervous I have ever been. I blinked and I literally said to Kelly Clarkson, I said, "Eitan means Ponzi scheme in Hebrew." And then she looked at me, she said, "What?" And I was like, "I'm joking." And she said, "Oh, okay." And then we just went live. Like that's like how it happened. But then so my mom was at the taping. So afterwards, my mom hugs me. And this is the order of operations. She goes, "Eitan, that was so great. Did you tell Kelly Clarkson how much weight she lost?" Which I didn't do, by the way. I did not. That would have really ruined it. But that's how moms do. Moms do. I could meet the Pope and my mom would be like, "Eitan, did you ask him where he got the hat from?" Like it is a whole other plane of existence. I am going to be going to Israel. I'm in the process of setting up a bunch of interviews. We have a couple of big ones that are coming up. Yohai Sponder, we're going to be interviewing. Rudy Rockman, we're finalizing time with, and a couple of other people. I was in touch with Shauna Fold from the Israel Daily News. Israel Daily News. Is that what it's called? We're going to be talking with her when we're out there. So if you're in Israel, we're also going to be doing a show. Omri Hanania, not Omri Hanania, his Christian Anglo brother. Omri's going to be doing some shows with me. I know that I'm going to be doing Funny Monday. I know that I'm going to be doing something on the 13th. What is that show that Mo Braun runs at all? Martin and Mo Braun and Martin, whatever. Why?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a show in English.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing that. And then there's also, this is not only a silly group of interviews. We're going to be doing a couple of more serious ones. That's still being finalized and everything like that. The big questions that I am kind of going into this is that I kind of want to know, one, how Israel's comedy has evolved. Because, right now, I feel like there's three stages of this. There was, the 100 days after October 7th, then probably like the middle 300, and where we're at now. So I'm kind of curious how the comedy scene has been evolving since October 7th. I'm kind of curious if they're into, sad jokes, or they think the happy jokes, they want fart jokes. I want to know what they want. 69 jokes?
Always.
613? 613 is when you 69 with a Jewish, with two Jews.
No, they want 710 jokes.
Yeah, there it is. Anyway, so you check out my Instagram and you'll see all the tour dates and stuff like that in Israel. But super excited to come out there. I have not been there since before October 7th. I was there a couple months before October 7th, so I'm excited to see how it changed. You know, I'm gonna check out the Nova site when I'm there. I feel like that's like a mandatory place to go to at this point. I don't know who said this joke, by the way. One of the funniest things I have ever heard in my entire life was an open mic joke like 10 years ago or something. And the guy said that the first time he ever saw boobs was at the Holocaust Museum.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Who said that joke?
I don't remember. Wait, is this the guy who said that they... Oh, I might be thinking of a different one. The one I'm thinking about is one that he said his parents saw like a bunch of naked people on TV.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, that's so hot. I masturbated to it. And then later he realized that was a Holocaust doc.
That's not good.
He was like 10.
That's not... In the beginning of The Brutalist, there's like a pretty out there sex scene. They show peen. You're seeing Jew peen. Brutalist is like our Irishman. I have sat down to start it like 7 times at this point. That movie is 80 hours long. You have to take a break. I am in what I got to assume my 3rd of 7 showings of this movie. At some point, I will finish The Brutalist. Tune in here. I'll tell you how I feel about The Brutalist when it's done. But you see, he gets JO'd in the beginning of The Brutalist.
Oh, nice.
Not very fun. Let us go into the news. One day we will have transition music to introduce the news. Let us start, of course, with the LA protests. Now, let me right up the top say, this is insane. I should not be there. Every person with the rational head on their shoulders knows that what ICE is doing to the immigrants and how ICE has been handling the situation, it's not actually for the safety of America. It's not actually for improving anything. It is more just because Trump is trying to flex. And part of me also believes that war in Gaza was going a little bit long, and I think that part of me is like, is Trump just trying to move the news a little bit for a couple of weeks while he pushes it? Because he very secretly, not secretly, but he very under the news cycle told Bibi to wrap it up, which is only the 2nd time that he's said that, and 4 or 5 more times, and I think Bibi may have to start wrapping it up. The protests have exploded in Los Angeles. Some of the charities that you can give to, ACLU, which I got some blowback for. People are like, oh, they help the protesters against the Jews. ACLU, they help everybody, okay? I don't like a lot of what they do, but I do think that it is pretty important to give to them in this moment. Also, what was it? United. I will tell you exactly who. I did a little research on this, a little philanthropical research on this. The other 2 ones, at ACLU, Immigrant Legal Resource Center, and United We Dream, are a bunch of charities that I think are great to give to. Now, obviously what is happening is bad. The protests have been completely exaggerated by Fox News and the Republican machine and everything like that. One thing that we do need to talk about is why the fuck are there so many kafirs at this thing? Mexico has nothing to do with Gaza at all. In fact, it is actively dangerous to smush together the Gaza struggle and the and what's happening to the immigrants and these ICE raids. They have literally nothing to do. This strategy has never worked, and it's dummies like Hannah Einbinder, this Nepo Capo baby, who keeps on smushing together all of these like civil rights issues. A couple of months ago, there was an issue, or a couple of years ago, right, when October 7th that kind of happened, there was an issue where a bunch of like medical professionals were kicked out of women's rights, women's health initiatives, just because they had a connection to Israel. That is insane. There's no reason to smush together controversial things that are at best a 50-50 discussion into a thing that's a 90-10% discussion, if that makes any sense. Gaza isn't near Mexico. It is not near Mexico. It's nothing to do with it. It's like whoever's in charge of these protests, zero strategic bones in their bodies whenever they do this stuff. Absolutely no strategy at all. The strategy to get your point across is let's make as many enemies as possible, and then let's see what happens. Let's see how it kind of plays out. And that is currently what is happening there. If you kick Jews out of this, you're kicking out a significant portion of people that do want to help. And let us remember that Jewish involvement in immigration reform It's been there since before the Holocaust. There were organizations like ICE Hebrew Immigration Services who at the time, their big setup was to get Jews out of the Holocaust into America. At a certain point, they realized that there wasn't really a refugee issue with with Jews and Israelis at that point. So what they did was they transferred over and they help Venezuelan migrants, they help Mexican migrants, they help all of these groups, innocent El Salvadorians are just trying to escape to a better life. A couple of years ago when the Pittsburgh shooting happened, that happened because there was a synagogue in Pittsburgh that had donated $1,000 to ICE because ICE was helping the Venezuelan migrants who were trying to escape that area. Jews have been an active and important member of the immigration reform conversation, and sloppily just kicking them out is so fucking dumb. Also, we have money. Okay? No, sure. We have money. Omri has money. Omri is wealthy, yeah.
Absolutely not.
I'm not. I have no money at all. Don't look to me. Yeah.
I guess my question would be about that. What do you think our obligation is as Jews who obviously like agree on a fundamental level with these protests, but are getting like kicked out of them? Like,
yeah.
Are we like, what are we supposed to do? I can't go and like support what Trump is doing.
Yeah.
But I also can't go to the protests.
I've been silently donating to like legal charities behind, but yeah, this is an actual issue. George Floyd was the last protest that I attended, and the reason why I stopped attending these protests was because the conversation, the rhetoric became openly hostile to Jews. There is a big, big problem here where Jews want to go and help. We want to go in the streets. We want to march and stuff like that. But we've been alienated and ostracized in so many of these communities that there's no ability for us to even go in there and do it anymore. This strategy, it's like, this is what happens when you let fucking kids decide the strategy. This is what happens when it's why the protests in the colleges never did anything except for piss people off. I will make the full-on argument that this hurts immigrants. This full-on hurts immigrants because if you keep on making people who want to help your enemy, then eventually you're going to be left alone. As a barista in Brooklyn, making a dope matcha latte, the more hate in your heart as a white person, the better you are as a barista. That is a fact. I do not want to get a cup of coffee from a Zionist. Okay? No offense to coffee leaf and tea leaf, coffee bean. Is that what it is?
Are you talking about Aroma?
Aroma coffee. Shitty coffee, okay?
Oh, it's awful.
I want to go to Free Palestine coffee in Bushwick or whatever. They are from the river to the sea, from the river to the beans. They make a good coffee. The other ones, the Jewish ones, we don't know how to make coffee. Jewish coffee sucks. It's not good. It's either like so sweet, like our wine. Like Bardenura is terrible wine. I love it, but it tastes essentially like you're like Willy Wonka with an alcohol addiction. That's what it tastes like.
Yeah, no, we should stick to cheese.
Yeah. Cheese is good for us. It's
not good for us. We're good.
Terrible for us. It's good for killing us. I was on Twitter last night, and I saw someone yelling the chant, where was it? Mexico to Gaza, globalize the intifada. Are you trying to get us killed? Are you globalize the intifada? Mexico does not have the intifada. The intifada would be a problem if you brought it to Mexico. The last thing Mexico needs right now is an intifada. That would actually be the worst situation, to be globalizing the intifada. Keep the intifada to separate places. We should be appropriating the intifada. Anytime that I'm about to like take down a bunch of food, I'm gonna say I'm like about to commit an intifada on this burrito.
B&H is like, we intifada the prices.
Yeah. We cut them at the head. We beheaded the prices. There's no tip. By the way, it makes complete sense, B&H, because it's one of the places where you can't tip. And let me tell you right now, Jews don't have a tip. We lost it to our Moel. But yeah, it's just stupid. It's like Hannah Einbinder. I feel like she posted stuff. JVP posted stuff. You can't make it seem like in order to help migrants, you also have to like throw Israel under the bus. It's a stupid tactic. It hasn't worked to this point. Let's look at where we are at in the war. Let's assume that your strategists we'll go as like a case study here. The strategy of alienating everybody. How has that worked? Have things gotten better for the Palestinians in Gaza? Nope. Has Bibi at all been diminished in his power? Nope. Has Trump at all been diminished in his power? Nope. Has any school divested in any meaningful way? Has any state divested in any way? Going to the PTA in Temecula and yelling at them to what's it called? To remove what's it called? Divest. Going to the PTA in Temecula and asking them to divest from Israel. Has that worked? None of this has worked. At some point, an adult in the room has to stand up and just say, like, stop it. And that adult, Gavin Newsom, baby. President Gavin Newsom.
The guy who couldn't turn on the water.
Yeah. Achtung. Mein Führer Gavin Newsom. People, I saw Mia Khalifa talking about Gavin Newsom. She hates him, but then she also was like, I want to fuck that guy so bad. He's hot. He looks like Mitt Romney. He is a liberal Mitt Romney, who is now liberal, technically, according to the Republicans. What do you think of Gavin? You think he's doing a good job?
I think Mitt Romney who fucks is a great way to put it.
Yeah, Mitt Romney fucks. I mean, first of all, he has like 70 kids.
Yeah. I think that he lost the presidential election during the LA fires.
Yeah, but I think that he maybe got it back if they handle this correctly. And also, I will say this. We are days away. Last night, a bunch of people in Kafiya's got arrested in New York. In a couple of weeks, we are going to... What happened? Did it...
No, just a notification for your...
Oh, okay. New York is about to see this. Everything that's happening in LA is about to kind of like migrate over to New York. So brace yourself. If you're I saw a sushi restaurant get raided in LA yesterday. That's a pretty... It'd be kind of funny to see like just a bunch of protesters. There's one guy running with a huge tuna on his back down the street. Eric Adams is not going to handle the protests correctly at all. Eric Adams is going to be the one that's in charge of standing up against the National Guard, and you know that's not happening at all. Moving right along. Next topic here. Unless you have anything else you want to say about the protesters?
I think that Eric Adams will handle this by just seeing who can pay him the most.
He's in Trump's pocket already. He's already made kind of that agreement with Trump. If I we're going to talk about this in a minute, but part of me believes that Trump is kind of jealous of the amount of eyes that Greta Thunberg in Israel was getting, and that is why he did all this stuff, because he was like, hey, no one's talking about old Donnie. Let's see how we can screw it up. Because realistically, the way to have this thing blow up is that they're going to send a bunch of National Guard troops to New York with no reason. They're going to show up, and then something is going to spark it, and then all of a sudden there's some kid at Tisch who everyone's going to be yelling to remember their name, and then it's just going to explode. And then it's going to get even worse, and there's going to be tensions. There's going to be corralling. The police are going to beat people up. Some police are going to get injured. It's going to get exploded. And then at the height of it, they're going to release a new Pokemon Go. And then everyone will forget about it. It will crescendo right around the time that F1, the movie, releases. And everyone is going to go to the movies and they're going to say, God damn it. What Brad Pitt did on that racetrack was amazing. Maybe it is fine that we have a little chaos here. Maybe if it takes a bunch of immigrants getting sent to El Salvador to make sure that we can all see F1 in IMAX, then maybe it's worth it.
I've been saying for months that the way to stop these protests is that they need to release GTA 6.
Oh, 1,000%. Good luck. The encampments would have lasted 2.5 weeks if GTA 6 came out at some point. Free GTA 6. That's what I want to know. From Mexico to Gaza, globalize the Intifada. We need to catch you.
There's around your apartment, by the way. I've seen a lot of stickers. It's from something to Tel Aviv, something settlers, abolish the settler state.
Oh, from here to there?
I go around taking stickers all over the city, so
Yeah.
I know what different neighborhoods are saying.
What I do is I go around and I tear down hostage posters. That's what my big thing. Don't knock it until you tried it, okay? Every once in a while, when I'm kind of feeling like, whatever, I like to hang up a bunch of hostage posters in my room and take them down privately, just to see what the big deal is. I'm going to be honest, invigorating, absolutely invigorating. I'm joking. Don't cancel me out there. Moving right along, the SS Greta Thunberg has officially ended its trip to Gaza to bring, I think, 100 kilograms of flour. There was nothing on that boat at all, but she was detained in what I will say the softest military action of all time. They boarded the boat. And they basically sent them all to Ashdod, and then they got to Ashdod. They were given pastrami sandwiches in a plastic bag, which if you're Jewish and you've ever been on Birthright, ever been in Israel, you know the cellophane plastic bag with the challah in it. It's either so good or it has been sitting in a cooler for 2 days, and you're in Ein Gedi, and that's the only thing that they have left. And you have to decide between crusty hummus spread or pastrami that is very much past the expiration date there. Greta was taken off of the boat along with a couple other people. By the way, listener mailbag. We have a little bit of listener mailbag situation on this episode. Someone pointed out that there's a rumor that she's dating someone on the boat, which is kind of crazy because isn't she a child? And isn't everyone on that boat like in their late 20s, early 30s and stuff?
Isn't she in her 20s now?
Is she in her 20s? Oh, they grow up so fast.
I'm looking this up right now.
But someone said that she may be involved. Ooh. What was so funny is that on that boat, there was this guy, it was a Brazilian peace activist with a keffiyeh on, who had attended Nasrallah's funeral. This guy, Tiago Avila, had attended Nasrallah's funeral. Nasrallah was the head of Hezbollah. And this guy was also the guy that had the acoustic guitar on the boat. And you know that maybe 10 hours in, some other activist probably says something like, fucking stop playing Wonderwall. Okay? I am the victim now. I have had to sit in this boat, locked in this boat, with this guy just being like, hey, you guys want to hear ants marching? What's up?
She's 22.
She is 22 years old. There you go. What's that sound? Oh, there's upstairs. She's 22 years old. She's apparently dating, according to my Instagram DMs. I'm basically like Jew moi. I'm like do moi for Jews. He brought his acoustic guitar. You know for a fact that got annoying. I got to know if he tried to whip out the acoustic guitar at Nasrallah's funeral. I want to know if in the middle of it he was like, it was an honor to know this guy. It was an honor to get occasionally paid by this guy. And I think the only way that we can really send them off is my cover of Dust in the Wind. And then he does it. And then you see all of the other terrorists crying because they never heard that song before, and they think that he had invented this. The vibe of that entire boat was, and now here's Wonderwall. Like, that is the vibe of the entire boat. When she got off of the boat, she was pulled to the side. They knew that they were going to get arrested the entire time. You could really tell in the videos that they were kind of amping up the intensity when Israel had boarded their boats. They made them throw their phones in the water, which is a big, big punishment. There were videos that came out of her on the El Al flight afterwards. They apparently made them watch the October 7th documentary.
They refused.
And they refused to watch it. What does that mean, refuse? They should just close their eyes. I would put it on really... Okay, so they did a bunch of child stuff. I mean, make them sit through it. You know, if they watch or not, they don't have to. But, you know, definitely make them play for it. Here's what I want to kind of talk about. The usage of the terminology afterwards in order to co-opt what has actually happened in Israel is pretty insane. Afterwards, she was claiming that she was kidnapped. They were calling it some sort of like military action and stuff like that. She was not kidnapped. She was taken off a boat, put on another boat, brought to Ashdod, which is lovely. Ashdod, lovely, port city. It's an incredible place to find fentanyl in Israel, to be honest. One of the best places to illicitly smuggle drugs in Israel is Ashdod. She gets to Ashdod, and they put her in front of a camera or whatever who was there, and she made some comments about it. She was being kidnapped and stuff like that. My big question for this, and this is a question to you actually, is wait, I'll ask that in a second, because the other part to this I thought was so funny was Trump's response to all of this. The first response that Trump had to this was, I think Israel has enough problems without arresting Greta Thunberg, which I thought is so funny and was so telling. You can tell that his relationship and his kind of appetite for this war is really, really, really kind of like growing old. Later on, he was asked about Greta, and this is a quote from her. Well, Greta is a strange person. She's a young, angry person. I don't know if it's real anger. It's hard to believe, actually, but I saw what happened. She's certainly different. Anger management. I think she has to go to any anger management class. That's my primary recommendation for her. This is exactly how Midwest dads talk about their kids who are in therapy. 1,000%. This is exactly some like right-wing religious dad who has never had to do any therapy at all. This is how, he has to go to see someone. Back in my day, all you did was just punch a wall and you move on. I don't know why she can't just punch a wall and move on. Actually, next time you're about to go on a flotilla, J.O., and then decide if you want to go on the flotilla. I guarantee you, half those people wouldn't have been on the flotilla if they just jade themselves. Here is my question with this. Average person in America, average voter, middle of America, let's call it someone that, voted for Biden, then voted for Trump, voted for Bush, and then voted for Obama. Just like standard, average, middle of the road person. Does this person, one, see what Greta did and think it was good? Or do you think that they saw this and thought it wasn't good? Or did they see this, and this is number two, did they see this and just go, I don't fucking care, and then moved on? Do you think that this moved the needle at all? And if it did move the needle, do you think it moved in a positive or negative way? Or do you think people just saw this and just shrugged and went, ugh, and then moved on?
I think the average down the road American voter has never liked Greta.
Yeah, that's what's being lost in this. Everyone finds her annoying.
She is annoying.
Yeah.
I remember I'm like a few years older than her, but I remember being like, when she was like, shame on you, I was like, okay, they stole my childhood too. Can you chill the fuck out?
Yeah, exactly. I remember that the first time she did it, it's like Rogan, baby, where you can't really bullshit on Rogan because you get 3 hours there and then he kind of just asks everything. The first time we saw that, like, you have robbed from me. You have robbed my childhood. That was like a good, whatever. But then afterwards, when nothing, she just kept on sticking herself into stuff. She's also mega rich. That's the other thing. She made tens of thousands of dollars off this fucking boat trip. She makes money every time someone clicks on her Instagram. That's just how Instagram and TikTok works. If you look online, people are able to take the metrics of her views and put it into an algorithm that shows exactly how much money she made. She made like $1.3 million on Instagram last year alone. She probably made $50,000 on this, on this boat trip that she did. I should do this, man. That's what I'm doing wrong. I got to get on a boat.
But to answer your question, I think most people were like, this bitch again?
Yeah.
What's she doing now?
Yeah, I think people shrug. I think it plays into how performative stuff, because this is the most performative thing that you could possibly do. An aid ship with no aid, more cameras than aid, and an acoustic guitar, showing up to an area where they knew they were going to get arrested, and then claiming kidnapping in a way that I think most people saw through it. The cause gets diminished every time she does something like this. It doesn't help immigrants. It doesn't help what's happening in Gaza at all. And she is annoying at the end of the day. They need just there's no one normal that was on that ship, There was no cool, anyone hot?
I mean, there was one Brazilian guy with an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, he's cool. Yeah. Because if there's one thing everyone loves, it's when the random guy at the party whips out an acoustic guitar and goes, yeah, but have you ever heard a slow down cover of Ba with the Ba? That'd be the funniest thing. In the middle of it just being like, enough with the fucking guitar. We are the victims here.
We get it. You like Arctic monkeys.
Yeah. Moving right along, let us talk. I got a quick one on Elon Musk. Elon Musk, quote, expresses regret over his criticism of Trump. We were off last week, or this happened like right after we had right after we had uploaded. But Elon Musk went on there and said that Trump, one of the reasons why the Epstein list will never get released is because of what is that? Oh, someone's outside. One of the reasons why the Epstein list wouldn't get released is because Trump was on the Epstein list. Then I also want to point out that this all came out right around the time we learned that he was like heavily into ketamine. So there's a very good chance that he was just on a ketamine trip, was like, yeah, well, Trump's on the Epstein list, and then just like went to bed, woke up and being like, oh no, I have to defend this. He is on the list. I mean, that's the funny part of it, is that Elon Musk was involved in all the relationships and all the conversations. I would let him know who was on it. But he went on X and he said, quote, I regret some of my posts about President Donald Trump last week. They went too far. In my mind, this is the most 50-50 split possible. Elon Musk still needs like SpaceX funding and Tesla funding. And then they had their first driverless taxi that's been showing up in Los Angeles, which, by the way, those Waymos, I don't know if you saw this, but they were calling Waymos to the protest. And then destroying the Waymos, which is great. You ever been in a Waymo at all? They're incredible. It's this really nice, comfortable way to jerk off on the way to work. That is what it is. It is a tinted car that plays mood music, and there's no one else there. So you're just sitting there in your thoughts. Everyone 5 minutes into a Waymo is like, is there a camera in here? What should I be doing? You sickos at Waymo. You know what, Waymo? Don't put a video camera in your jerk off tubes, okay? Don't tell me that I'm wrong for jerking off. You're the ones that put the camera in that thing and then asked us not to JO in the most JO-able thing of all time. Other Netanyahu news. Netanyahu's son needs a no-fly zone for his wedding. Police, this is, I think, from the Jewish Times of Israel or something like that. Police will close the airspace around the wedding next week of Avner Netanyahu, the youngest son of Benjamin Netanyahu, Ynet reports, which is the most Jewish-named publication in the world. Why? Net. Citing a notice to pilots, the report says that the airspace within 1.5 kilometer radius around the Ronit farm in central Israel will be closed Monday, except for police helicopters. Media reports that the wedding was postponed last year due to Netanyahu's fear that it could have been targeted amid the multi-front war and the drone threat. I think it's because Avner got cold feet. I think that Avner maybe was looking back at some of his exes on Instagram, seeing all of their lives, and thought, you know what? It's about time I start using this war to my advantage. And then he told the lady, we can't get married next week. Gaza. He's throwing it in. He's throwing Gaza into everything possible. He's like the protesters, just throwing Gaza into stuff possible. And she's like, what, babe? That war's never going to end. And then he's like, no. It'll end. We just got to wait for the war to end. Unfortunately, next week, something else is going to come up. And all of a sudden, there's going to be new technology out there. You watched that video about the fiber optic drones that in Ukraine? No. There's a new kind of drone that they're doing where, you know how like the issue with drones is that like they can be electromagnetically shot down or whatever. So the way around it is that you put like a fiber optic cable into the tush of it. So it can't be, it's like controlled via like cord essentially. So it can go like in like a 15-mile radius and stuff.
It's a 15-mile long cord?
It's a teeny, thin little string. There's like a cartridge that kind of poops out. It looks like a spider. It looks like Spider-Man with diarrhea.
Oh, that's kind of slice some birds right in the middle. Oh,
the birds are getting blasted. No one's ever talking about the bird issues. What is crazy is that there's an environmental issue because you look at like the war field and stuff like that. There's just these little strings everywhere. It's just, we're all fucked. I mean, we're all going to die via drone bomb. It's just a question of when it happens. At some point, someone's going to start connecting bombs to the drones in America, and they're just going to start pooping them out onto the...
surprised people don't do that.
Shocked that it hasn't happened yet. What do we wait? I'm waiting for some bullied kid in, like, Temecula. Once again, shout out Temecula. Some bullied kid in Temecula is going to see some Ukrainian war footage and figure out a way to attach a homemade Molotov cocktail to the bottom of that and then drop it onto his elementary school, and it'll just ruin the rest of our lives because we're all going to have to be looking out for it.
Well, hot take, though.
Hot take it.
The arms race between belittled high school students and the police has kind of been at a stalemate for a long time. Mm-hmm. So I think a technological advancement might be good for both parties.
Yeah, no, this is our Iron Dome. You know, they got 7 nations around us, and we got the Iron Dome, baby. It's all about advancing medical. Well, here's the thing. The reason why Russia isn't like crushing it is one, because the Ukrainians are pretty smart. I don't know. These are some of the most stubborn human beings alive. This is the thing about the Ukrainian war. All of my supers have been Ukrainian dudes. In the beginning of the war, everyone was like, wow, the Ukrainians are really standing up for themselves. I can't believe the Ukrainians are standing up for themselves. They're so outmatched. I can't believe that Kiev hasn't been taken by Russians. These are the most stubborn human beings alive. Everyone's like, wow, Putin wasn't able to take Kiev in a week. Have you ever tried to get your hot water turned on midweek in New York? The most stubborn human beings alive. Everyone's like, I can't believe that Putin is taking Putin so long to beat this stubborn nation. I know the Ukrainians, okay? The Ukrainians, you can't get them to move an inch. This war is going to take forever. It's never going to end. Anyways, moving right along, I want to talk a little bit about the mayoral election. New York City's mayoral election is heating up. We got Zoharn Mamdani, potentially an anti-Semite, versus Andrew Cuomo, 100% the sexual abuser. Ranked choice voting is throwing everything off. The way that everyone's trying to go about this is by ranking Zoharn, Brad Lander, and then a hodgepodge of people. Adrian Adams is the third person. According to Expedition Strategies, Cuomo is at 42%, while Zoharn is at 30%. Data for Progress has it at 40-33. Emerson College has it at 35-23%. Marist at 44-22. Siena at 34-16. Data for Progress has it at 47-17. But Data for Progress also is run by a bunch of touchy-feely Italians. So I think that they may be biased a little bit. The news this week, there was a couple things with it. One, Cuomo got in trouble because he ordered a bacon, egg, and cheese by saying bacon, cheese, and egg, which not how you do it at all. Very forced. But honestly, I don't think Cuomo has gone to a bodega in years. If anything, that's an aide that's getting out there. It's always funny when they have a guy in a suit go, even when Zoharn, who's like pretty natural and calm, they've been putting him on like a press tour now. It still looks like weird. Like it still looks forced and stuff like that when he does it. Cuomo did the bacon, egg, and cheese thing wrong. The debate was this week, and the thing that got picked up a lot on this debate was the question of what would be the first country you go to visit after you become mayor of New York? And half the people said Israel. One of the people said like the Caribbean or something like that because their district was is heavily Caribbean. And then Zoharn just said, "I'm staying in New York," which I actually, hot take, liked that answer. I don't know why it's that important for a mayor to go visit another country. Now, I want to say that Cuomo is going to win. Zoharn is going to sweep the very crucial demographic of white girls who don't vote here. He's got that locked up. Baristas who are registered in Cleveland, I mean, he's killing it. He's probably got a 90% approval rating of everyone who does not vote anywhere near New York. Cuomo is gonna win this by a mile. Most people in New York want two things. They want subways that are safer, and they also want just stuff in general to be cheaper. Zoharn, unfortunately, his vibe is anti-police stuff, which, like, not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying that, like, when it comes to the idea of who's going to make the subway safer and whatever, Cuomo, as an asshole, is known for that more. Cuomo is going to be the guy that's going to come in and say, police, you can stop and frisk whoever. Hell, I do it at most election fundraising campaigns. Cuomo's going to go to the police and just be like, guys, here's what I'm going to say to you guys. You can stop and frisk whoever you want, baby. It is the 80s again in New York City. Cuomo is here. I remember when Cuomo was in office the first time, when he was the governor, that if you remember the way that he kind of got kicked out was that he got caught up in a bunch of like sex abuse scandals. This was the beginning of the pandemic. And I thought something very funny happened during this because he gave the people what they want. In the beginning of the pandemic, he kept on getting talked about how he was like harassing people and stuff like that. And he would do this thing where he'd be like, oh, there's harassment stuff about me. All right, we're opening the city 40%. Or like, oh, there's harassment stuff. Oh, we're at 75%. Eventually, we hit 100% openness in the city already. Because remember that everything was shut down. And so you were opening up in percentages, right? He gets caught up again in the sex abuse thing. He goes, all right, we're fully open, 100%. And then he gets caught up again. And what happens the next day? Weed is legal. Then after that, he stepped down. I am pretty sure that we were one intern getting diddled away from the police being defunded. That was bound to happen. We were one intern that he just copped a feel, and then he went out there and said, I've heard the allegations against me, and that is why we are defunding the police ACAB. That we were so close to that happening, it didn't end up happening. Okay, so let's talk about the debate. Zoharn was asked about whether he would go to Israel. Zoharn said that he wouldn't go anywhere. Later on, he was asked more about this. His quote was, I'm not even sure if I would be allowed to enter into Israel because I think there's legislation that prohibits the entry of anyone who supports that legislation. So it is both a question for me, but also were the answer to be different, I think the result would be the same. So he explained that his support for BDS During a forum this Sunday, he explained his past support for BDS, but did not clearly answer a direct answer. His past support for BDS, but did not clearly answer a direct question about whether he would continue to support the boycott if were elected mayor. Quote, I am someone for whom at the core of my politics is belief in nonviolence, and having seen the efficacy of nonviolent movements in creating compliance with international law, specifically with South Africa, that's what brought me to support BDS. And what I've said is that one need not visit Israel to stand up for the Jewish New Yorkers. I believe that to stand up for Jewish New Yorkers means that you actually meet Jewish New Yorkers wherever they may be it at synagogues, temples, or their homes, on the subway platform, or at the park, or wherever. Bagel shops, Acme Fish Fridays, Moel at Brisses, bar mitzvahs, Ramaz's high school graduating class. It's crazy. He just listed a bunch of stuff like there. I wonder what ChatGPT would say. Where to meet Jews. Let's see. ChatGPT.com. Let's see. ChatGPT. Where do I... This is what Zoharn does when he wants to talk to the Jews. Where do I meet Jews? Let's see. Meeting Jewish people can depend on your intention. Whether you're looking to connect... Okay, come on. Synagogues, JCCs, Chabad houses, Moshe House, cultural organizing, Yiddish clubs, Jewish dating apps, JSwipe, and Meetup.com are listed here. Yeah, what if Zoharn's like, I am on JSwipe. I am an ally. That is why I have gotten a JDate account.
When you said depending on what your intention is, my immediate thought was like, if you want to shoot them, go to a Jewish museum.
Yeah. This is my thing with Zoharn. I think the hate for him is like too much, give or take a little bit. I think that the whole, like, you got to visit Israel if you're a mayor. I think you should visit Israel. This is where the complication kind of comes, is that a lot of the anti-Semitic stuff that has happened over the past 600 plus days and before has been because that side, and you know what I'm talking about, that side has been completely unable to remove the concept of Israel and Jews from each other. I would love to have a conversation about just Israel. Unfortunately, that just can't happen because we're not allowed to have that conversation, because anytime that we're having that conversation, it's also caked in swastikas showing up at these rallies and no one calling it out. Hamas flags and Hezbollah flags and globalizing the Intifada. Because all of that is included in this, Zoharn does have to take a pretty active stance against this stuff. Also, there is the basic thing where all the 90% of the Jewish institutions in New York have some affiliation with Israel. So as much as it isn't important for him to go to Israel, I do think it is way important for him to not to talk about BDS and stuff like that. He's got to talk about BDS. He has to unequivocally denounce it. And, you know, that's just how it goes. He has to, because of the cultural situation, and you can make the argument also that him supporting things like BDS and stuff like that, and by being skittish and not giving full, unequivocal answers and giving the all lives matter answer to some of these questions, that is the kind of stuff that really frustrates the Jewish community. I think a lot of this would have been assuaged if he just said, like, listen, I don't even know if I can go to Israel, but I will support Israel cause. I know that there's a significant Israeli population here. I know that the Jews have a significant connection to Israel. You know, if he was to say that stuff, then it would assuage a lot of this negativity towards him. But because he is not saying it, he's kind of bringing it onto himself. Also, fucking lie. Just lie. If I'm Zoharn, I go out there and one meeting I say, I'm Yisrael Chai, and then the next meeting I say, globalize the Intifada, let's go Mets, let's go Yankees, Aaron Rodgers was a bum, Jackson Dart is the future. You know, just go out there and just perform. It doesn't matter. None of these people took an improv class.
Well, I think, the issue with that, though, is that if he did that, he would lose all those Cleveland baristas immediately.
Yeah, he would alienate himself from voting demographics that don't vote here. That's a problem. Listen, when you are running, remember what Hillary Clinton did? And it worked so well. She ran and she got the popular vote. She nailed the popular vote. She fucking crushed Trump in the popular vote. And that is all that matters, okay? Don't worry about getting into office. It's more about just telling people you're running and then looking cool in front of Beyonce. That is it. That is all that matters. Zoharn, it doesn't matter if you want to win. It just matters that eventually you get to meet Kalani in person. That is it. You don't have to worry about that. Zoharn, you don't have to win. You do not have to win. You just have to get Rachel Ziegler's number. And that's it. There's no way that any of these people, this is why none of this is, you know what the thing is that this same tactic is why Kamala lost and all that stuff like that. It's just repeating the same errors over and over. No one learns from everything. I haven't learned from anything. This is the Democrats right now are someone on GLP who is just shoving cake in their mouths. Just shoving cake in their mouths, being like, I know this is making me sick, but I'm going to keep on doing it even though it's not working. Anyways, ranked choice. I'm voting for, we live right across the street from a guy that's running for mayor. Swear to God. Across the street, Otla Church. It's Pastor James Manning.
Oh, they're nuts.
Yeah, they're nuts.
Their signs.
Yeah, they're nuts. They said that J.D. Vance was angry, was jealous of Kanye because of, Senegalese penises or something? Or he said J.D. Vance's, that's what it was. It was J.D. Vance's anti-Haitian migrants because he's jealous of the size of their penises. That was the thing that was on the front of the church. I like to think, what's funny about the Otla Church is that if I'm a kid going to church, that's probably where I'm learning my first curse word. It's from the sign outside. Like if I, at some point, there's some kid at home that just said something at dinner table and the mom was like, did you call your father a white devil? Where the hell did you learn the term white cuck devil? You're 8. And he's like, school. Pastor Manning taught me it. Out school.
Speaking of people who are running for mayor who shouldn't be, I actually had a large campaign against a person running for mayor because he hired me to do some video work for him and then stiffed me on $350.
Who?
His name is Thomas Cahill. He is also a sex offender.
Good. You can't be running for government unless you can't make an omelet without cracking some eggs, even though they don't want it.
I started trashing him on like social media, like TikTok, Instagram, and stuff. And within a month, 10 different women reached out to me saying that he like abused, raped, like whatever. One of them was like, this was last month.
Whoa.
Yeah. And
is he still running?
I don't know. He released some sort of a few months ago. He released like a long, definitely coke-induced manifesto.
You got to be doing coke with your manifestos.
Oh no, he does a lot of coke.
Yeah.
And then he kind of disappeared. He also has an illegal Bengal cat.
In New York?
In New York, yeah.
Where?
In his apartment.
He has the space?
Yeah, he's rich.
You can. What about the co-op board? The co-op
rich.
board. That's right. Listen, at the end of the day, you get to keep one.
Bengal cats are also not big. They're pretty small. They're like the size of like 1.5 regular cats. It's like long, but it's considered like an illegal animal.
Oh, it's not. He didn't have like a tiger.
No.
Yeah, just
not
a long
tiger,
cat.
Just a long cat.
Oh, I'm pro long cats.
I reported him to the police just to fuck with him.
Good. Absolutely, that's the way to handle it. Moving right along, we got a couple more stories left. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Rashida Tlaib finally agreed. The sexual tension between the two of them is finally coming to a head. They both voted present on a resolution to condemn anti-Semitic attacks. The position. So this was the resolution. They declined to back, had bipartisan support. It was titled "Condemning the Rise in Ideology-Motivated Attacks on the Jewish Individuals in the United States, including recent violent assault in Boulder, Colorado, and reaffirming the House of Representatives' commitment to combating anti-Semitism and politically motivated violence." The act was pushed 400-0 and made it, with 2 being present but refusing to vote, which is Caddy. And those 2 people are Rashida Tlaib and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I loved this story because this just proves the one thing that like everyone has always said is that horseshoe theory is real, it is alive, and it is sexually bringing these 2 people together. The bubbling between these two. Rashida Tlaib has her issues with anti-Semitism, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is a nutcase. And never, you know what the thing is with nutcases? It's always the Jews. Why is it the Jews? It's never they're like, oh, you know who's controlling space lasers? Swedish people. Like, it's always Jewish people.
Well, Swedish people can't even get into Gaza on a boat at this point.
Oh my God. Where is she now? Is she in Sweden? Is that where they put her back to?
She is Swedish.
God, what do you think? The Swedish government is probably like, oh God. It felt like when they picked her up, it did feel like a mall cop just being like, hey, can you come please pick up your child in adult wear?
No, this whole thing, start to finish, felt like someone having a catty teenager. Like the way they hid into the sandwiches felt like they partied too hard on a school trip and then they had to go home.
Yeah, exactly. This just didn't shock me at all. I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is she's the exact polar, whatever Rashida Tlaib is to Jews, Marjorie is to Jews on the other side of it, and that's just kind of how it goes. I got a couple of non-Jewish stories that we want to do, and then we're going to hit a listener mailbag. First one up quickly. The days around Trump's trade war announcement saw spikes in lawmaker stock market transactions. Oh boy, who didn't see that one coming? 7 Democrats and 3 Republicans reported stock transactions made on April 7th, 2 days before Trump instituted the pause, according to a CNN review of a database of congressional financial filings. That day, post on X erroneously suggested a pause was already underway, tumbling stocks and sending the markets into a state of turbulence. The next day, on the eve of Trump's tariff reprieve, 7 Republicans and 4 Democrats were tied to transactions filing show. The White House that day announced it would impose heavy tariffs on China and on the S&P 500. It closed its lowest level so far that year. Lawmakers told CNN the trades were made largely by third-party financial advisors with unilateral control over their portfolios. Bullshit. Lawmakers told CNN the trades were made large. So from March 31st, just before the president's April 2nd Liberation Day, which, by the way, happy Liberation Day to those who, from me and mine to you and yours, the announcement of the tariffs of at least at 10% across all countries through April 9th paused. A total of 35 lawmakers, 19 Republicans and 16 Democrats, reported purchases between about 8.6 million and 27.9 million, and sales between 5.9 million and 22.4 million across 1,265 transactions from March 31st to April 9th. Democratic Representative Ro Khanna reported the most transactions with 438, while GOP Representative Kevin Hurd reported the single highest value transaction of up to $5 million on April 4th. 11 lawmakers reported 1 transaction. 14 lawmakers reported 2 transactions or fewer. Best way to make money in this country is just by being in Congress and knowing when the government is going to collapse. I like this. I think that that's a perk. They should just announce that it's a perk. If you want it, listen, if you are in Congress, you get to trade. You get to stock trade. That's what you got to do. If you are in Congress, you are better than everyone else. And you should financially see a windfall from that. And that's exactly what this is.
I like the idea of not paying them at all.
Yeah.
And they can only get the money from their trades.
I like that. That's like tips where they do no tips. They should do either a flat salary or no salary, and then it's all on tips alone. I agree. That's pretty good. You should be given $40 in the beginning of the year. You know what? This is actually the way that they should do it. The way that voting should work is they give everyone $40, and then they see how much that person grew the $40 using insider trading. And then whoever did it the best, they get to be the senator of Texas. And then you go, and then the less money you made, it actually is not even state dependent. It really is $40, and then whoever made the most out of the $40, they are at the best state. They get to be in control of California, New York, which is a better state. And then if you don't, then all of a sudden, guess what? You lost the $40. Congratulations, you're the governor in charge of West Virginia. Go fuck yourself. That's how it works. No offense to everyone in West Virginia. Actually, I can guarantee you no one in West Virginia is listening to this. There are no Jews there. But the evangelical Catholics, they are listening to this. They love the New York Times. Last story, and then we're going to hit a listener mailbag. BTS is back together, baby. Jaemin and Jungkook from the legendary K-pop band BTS have announced that they've completed military service. They officially were discharged from South Korea's mandatory military service on June 11th, making a major step forward in the group's long-awaited reunion. With their discharge, 6 of the 7 BTS members have now completed their service obligations, with only Suga, who is a sniper in Rafah right now, with only Suga currently fulfilling his alternative service as a social worker. His discharge is expected later this month. This is the quote from them. "Thank you to the fans and reporters who came to see us," Jaimin said. "It's been a long time, and from the pandemic to military service. Now that we're back, we'll work hard to show you what we've prepared." I like that it's BTS, but with PTSD. They should change their name from BTS to PTSD.
BTSD, yeah.
BTSD. Yeah, they should change their name from BTS to BTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I imagine you are... Who's South Korea fighting right now? North Korea? Imagine you are a North Korean soldier and your base has been overrun and you're the last one standing and the South Korean military breaks in and you end up fighting fist to fist with someone who knees you to the head. You know, all of a sudden you're on the floor and he's slowly putting the knife into your chest. And the last thing you think is that Jungkook from BTS? That's got to be a fucking mind trip to just be like, wait a second, sugar? And then take it out immediately. Those are all the news stories from this week's episode. I want to start doing a thing here we're going to do called Listener Mailbag, which I got to think of a better name for it. What's Jewish? The kibbutz chat.
What do you call it?
The kibbutz board?
No, what's the what do you call the thing that rabbis do when they do like a new halacha thing?
The shear?
We have like
Ask the rabbi?
Parochet?
No.
And
Omri Chananya. Let's call it Ask the Rabbi. I'm not a rabbi at all, so I can't. So you know what? Fuck it. No one's a rabbi. There's no way if Shmuley Batech is a rabbi, I'm a rabbi. Let's call it like it is. I like how he's America's sex rabbi. No one asked for that as a title. No one thought, you know what I need to have happen right now? Shmuley Batech, tell me how to get it in.
And we already had Dr. Ruth.
Yeah, that's right. We already had America's sex rabbi, Dr. Ruth, and then Shmuley Botam showed up. Here we go. Listener mailbag. Ask the rabbi, which non-Jewish actors are the most Jewish? That was the question I got from the listener mailbag. By the way, most of the subjects we recorded today were from suggestions that were put into the Instagram. So definitely keep on filling that out. Most non-Jewish actors that are the most Jewish, I got 3 for you right now. Number 1, Bruce Springsteen. I think that everything he talks about is a struggle. It's all about New Jersey. And if there's anything Jews love talking about, it's New Jersey. We specifically like talking about different places on the Garden State Parkway. And that is all of Bruce Springsteen's songs. All of Bruce Springsteen's songs sound like he was taking a nap and then someone kicked the bed and was like, talk about the Garden State Parkway. And that's why he's like, exit 48. Like, that's why, right? Bruce Springsteen, number 1 non-Jew who feels Jew. Number 2, Chapel Roan. She doesn't fucking stop complaining. And that is it. There's no other Jewish part to her. I mean, she also hates Israel, which is not Jewish at this point. A little bit. She represents the JVP non-Jews out there, but she doesn't shut up, and she has no vitamin D. And that is what being Jewish is. That's number 2. Chapel Roan. Doesn't shut up, has no vitamin D. Number 3, Al Pacino. 1, all Italians are Jewish, and all Jewish people are Italian. That's just a fact. 2, this man has played so many Jewish roles. He knows so much Yiddish at this point. When he was in Hunters, he had full scenes in fucking Yiddish. If you learn that much, if you are doing all that stuff, you're Jewish. I remember that there was this controversy that happened when they made the all Yiddish version of Fiddler in New York right before the pandemic started, where there were non-Jews in all Yiddish Fiddler. And people were like, what? There can't be any non-Jews in all Yiddish Fiddler? Come on, like, you're taking away Jewish, you can't, it's only for Jews. Bitch, if you learn 3 hours of Yiddish, you're Jewish, okay? Doesn't matter what part of the religious spectrum you're on. You learn 3 hours of Yiddish, you are Jewish. That is how it works. And those are my 3. Are there any that I'm forgetting? Any non-Jewish actors that appear very Jewish?
I literally have been racking my brain for the past 30 seconds. I can only think of Jewish actors.
Because even like Rachel Brosnahan, non-Jewish, she didn't feel Jewish in Miss Maisel at all. She was just doing Jew voice, and she amped it up the entire time. By the end, she was just like, "My puppy ate the kugel on Shabbos."
Is Tony Shalhoub Jewish? He has to be, right?
Tony Shalhoub is not. Isn't he Muslim? I thought.
The guy who plays her dad.
Yeah.
If Tony Shalhoub is not Jewish, then Tony Shalhoub 100%.
I'm like 30% sure Lebanese Christian. That's
Tony Shalhoub is my answer then.
Tony Shalhoub, pretty Jewish. I'll give that. Tony Shalhoub, pretty Jewish. Anyone else? I mean, no. Neil Patrick Harris is gay.
And that's Jewish?
Yeah, gay is Jewish. That's how it works. Happy Pride, by the way, out there. This is the thing about we're going to actually, when I'm going to Israel, we're talking to someone who speaks a little bit more on this, but Pride in Israel is very, very interesting. A lot of gays there, but the government also likes to prop that up and then hates them. So there's an interesting give and take that happens between the gay community and the political community. But hey.
Mostly a take, I would say.
Yeah, that's right. I would say they're taking them to the streets and hanging them in a couple. No, this is the end of the show. We're going to talk more about that gay stuff at some other point. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. Give us that 5-star of David rating. That's what we're calling it. The 5-star, the 6-star of David rating out there. Omri, thank you so much for coming in. Got any shows coming up? Anything you're plugging?
Yeah, I'm doing the 12th. I'm doing Bushwick Comedy Club, and then I'm flying to Israel, where I will be opening for an American comic named Eitan Levine.
That's right. We got to book that. If you're an Israeli with an event space out there, get at me. A lot of them. We're gonna find out if we can sell tickets there. I can sell tickets in Philadelphia. Question: can I sell tickets in Tel Aviv? We will. Tel Aviv. I'm telling everyone. Clip that. Clip that. That's genius. New York Times is here. Tel Aviv. I'm telling everyone. Okay. We will be back next week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a good one. And as we always end this by saying, Barstool.